Oh my goodness. What a noise, what a racket. Now that was just a little intro music that I did myself on this thing. But what we're going to be talking about today is this guy here. He goes by the name Weird Paul Petroskey. And I've known him for decades. This is his very first album. And I've known him for a long time. And I've always wanted to just kind of catch up with him and pick his brain about being, in general, a music fan, a collector, a weirdo. And he found this brand for himself long ago when he was a child, when he was just doing what he loved to do. He's the original video vlogger, basically, video blogger. He made videos way back when, in the 80s, before any of us even had access to a video camera, really. And he still has all the footage, and he still makes use of that content. And he has become that. He has basically been able to remain immersed in his childhood obsessions and hobbies his whole life. That's the way I see it. And that's what I love about this guy. So we're going to have him here. He has graciously agreed to come and talk with us. And I'm just going to bring him on just a second here. I just want to say hello to people who have showed up already. Tecker Time is number one. Tecker Time. Peter Gray's number 2. Hi, Roger Flake. And Weird Paul is here already. And AZ Mick is here. And thank you guys for showing up. Now, I want to make sure. Now, Paul, I can see you backstage. If you just give me a thumbs up when you're ready, I will bring you on. Okay, great. All right, everybody. I can't wait to talk with you about this guy. Again, I'm not going to go into too much about who Weird Paul is because easy enough to Google, but most people that I know who Weird Paul is. So here we go. Mr. Paul, how are you?
I'm really well. How are you, Michael?
Look at that. You got a professional microphone and everything. It's so good. Man, it's great to see you. Now,
you too.
Just a little background here. Now, your memory is probably better than mine.
Okay.
I can't exactly remember how we met. Now, I know it had something to do with around July 20th, 1991, according to my notes here. I saw you perform at the Fallout Shelter in Raleigh, North Carolina with Happy Flowers.
That's some good notes.
But I can't remember if that was the first time we talked to each other, if it was before that, because I know that we had done some trades maybe in the late 80s or early 90s. This is where I got these early cassettes that you released here. Now this one is listed on Discogs as an actual release.
That's my second album, second
album on cassette. Now, this was one that you sent me specially. Now, it's just called Weird Paul's 1984 cassette, and it just says unreleased songs. It's totally hand done. Now, what's the story with that? I forgot all about this.
That was a tape that I never released that I was working on after the Low Fidelity High Anxiety album that you showed at the beginning of the stream. Yeah. Those were all songs that I recorded after that came out. And so I had just been like recording. I hadn't released anything because Homestead had the option to release my next album in the contract that I signed. And so I was waiting to see if they were going to put something else out. Ultimately, they passed.
I see.
So then I ended up releasing most of the stuff on that tape on a few other tapes that came out later.
Okay, that's what I figured. And now this also was something you sent me way back in the day.
Yep, I still have the letter here where you ordered that from me.
That's great. And look, so it has the insert and everything, and it's got the very cool DIY label on it, and even has the yikes at the top here, and even the one listed on Discogs has these same stickers on the.
I made them all the same, all made by hand. Yeah.
So this is just a little view, a little view into your passions that you obviously discovered early in life before you were a teenager.
Oh, yeah.
All of this stuff that you've created, and I must say, being very prolific over the decades, creating content way before there were things like this, YouTube, to share that content. You were just constantly churning out content.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, just at the base level, what inside you, do you remember why you felt that it was important to document all those bits of your life without really having anywhere to share it, except for having people come over your house and look at it, or, sending VHS tapes out? What was the impetus?
I don't know. I just always have had this compulsion, in my life to be creating something, whatever it is. And I'm just not, I don't feel alive or happy unless I'm doing that. So, I mean, back then I wanted it to be absorbed by people. I wanted people to be entertained by it. I just didn't know how it was that I was going to be able to get it in front of people, whether it was in front of their ears or their eyes or whatever, and I was never good at that kind of thing. I've never been a good salesman. So I'm just a good creator. So I just keep making the stuff, and, eventually it starts to leak around slowly, very slowly, and it takes a lot of time for that. Of course, with the advent of the internet, that got the ball rolling a lot faster, because now you can reach everybody very quickly.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say easily. Easily is not the right word.
No,
quickly.
No, not easily. But if you, like with you have such a plethora of content in your archives that you have diligently archived and kept alive from this old media all these years. And now finally, as we're both elderly males, now you can finally share this stuff at a moment's notice. Boom, just send it out to thousands of people. And what a wonderful thing that you had the wherewithal and the dedication to keep all of that stuff you created when you were a kid alive all these years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
I'm happy.
Now that's not really why I have you here. I didn't really have you here to have a Weird Paul interview where we talk about Weird Paul and Weird Paul's music and his career and all that. I do want to touch on those things, obviously, but I think the most important thing that I want to discuss with you, because this is where I kind of am parallel with you, is that we're both big music nerds, and we've always been obsessed with music ever since we found out about it, and kind of immersed in creating it and being around it and collecting it. And we're both big thrift store nerds too. We go thrifting. We have this compulsion. So these are things I want to get into. Now, I just want to show a few things. Now, I also have this cool autograph picture you sent me way back decades ago.
That's the official promo, Homestead promo photo, yes.
Yeah, very cool. And then also I have a letter you sent me. And in the letter, and you probably realize, you remember, in the letters you would always include a bunch of extra stuff. Now here's one dated January 12th, 1992. It's a big, long letter. It talks about everything that's going on in your life at the time. It talks about your marriage, the fact that you didn't drive, you didn't have a license. We talked about my little punk rock band I sent you on record. You were just such a wordy guy. I mean, look, there it is. Oh my goodness!
It's salesman
in the street.
This is my favorite song on the Rabid Salesman album is All-Star Jeepers.
Great. Well, did you have Jeepers? You had Jeepers when you were a kid?
I didn't. I had something similar. But, still to this day, anytime anyone, literally anyone, I hear anyone say the words Family Dollar, I turn to them and I say, Family Dollar, my fair friend. Literally every single time. So
that's great. I know that feeling when you grow up with songs that become like nursery rhymes in your head for whatever reason. Those lyrics will fall out during conversation.
This is the box you sent the record in.
Wait a second. You still have the box.
Here's the artwork that you drew on it.
God,
right here.
I was just
January 6th, 1992. That was postmarked.
That is so cool that you have that.
Yeah, right, I saved it.
So I have this letter, and I think I have many more letters. I think we were pen pals.
We did write for a while. I have some of the letters right here. There's this one here that you sent me in October of '91, and you mailed the letter in a knapsack, which was was for disposable sanitary napkins. Let me make sure that I make this very clear. There is no envelope here. This was mailed in this sanitary napkin bag. Right here. The letter was mailed in here. The stamp is on here. All right.
Okay. Yeah. And this This is the weird thing. This is another parallel with you and me. And this is why I want to have you on here. That sanitary napkin bag.
Artwork, right? Is this special or what? This is a museum's going to ask for this for me years from now. You say, we heard you have a very rare Pilmer and we need it for our exhibit. Do you still have it? I'm going to say, yes, here it is.
Well, here's the thing.
They're going to say, you fool! You've it's all folded up and scuffed. It's ruined. Why did you not put it in some sort of a laminate?
Well, here's the thing with that sanitary napkin bag. For some reason, I was compelled to collect those things. I probably have 100 different sanitary napkin bags still in my attic in a box. And so the next time I send you a letter, which will be very soon, it's going to be in one of those.
Well, I hope so.
So let me just show the people what you sent me in the mail that you sent way back when.
Right,
Here is look at this, your Columbia House membership card, video rental card.
That's very cool.
There you go. And of course, all the information is scratched out there.
I'm glad to hear that.
Okay, now and some more. I don't know what this is or what it means, but you put this in an envelope.
Well, let me see that. Something I probably found in a library book or something.
Yeah, look how aged that part is, and then look how new the other parts. It's just
that's crazy. Yeah.
The heck? And then there's this free MRI transportation authorization. I don't know what that
number
is.
Tonight. Yeah.
And is this family?
No, I just used to. I have a large collection of photographs of people that I don't know, and I still to this day mail them to people. You know?
Okay, and this may be the most geeky, interesting thing you sent me in that letter. Okay, here is your shop and save.
Oh, that is awesome. There's a piece. That's a collectible right there.
Horror Express.
I still remember that was a good day. I remember renting those. Wow. I didn't rent many movies at that store either. I used to mail those. I used to mail those rental receipts to people. Yeah, that's
I still have mine. Thank you.
Very nice. Yeah, so, I met you. I met you at that show.
That was the first time we met. But did we write before that?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
Because the letters I have from you for after that show. But we met at that show, and you had me draw your boobs poop on the front of the record there. That's what that is right there.
Yeah, that's a boobs poop and a toilet. And the whole boobs poop reference was from the band Sockeye that I was kind of obsessed with back then.
And I have a letter here from you, and it says in the letter that you had sent a tape of my music to Sockeye, and then you told me how their lead singer, Dave Shaw, was just like amazed by it.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, see, I wrote the date here of the show that you signed. This July 20th, 1991. There it is. It
was me and Sledgehammer, who I was on tour with, Happy Flowers, and Bastro, who were also on Homestead Records.
That's
and the Happy Flowers played a really long time, and I played a really long time, and Bastro's set got cut like really, really short.
Yeah.
Because we played so long. We're like, oh, well, sorry, Bastro. But anyway, I have a tape of the show. This is the cassette of the concert right here. And I know that you also have a tape of that show, I'm guessing, anywhere. Maybe you still do.
Now, here's the thing. I was looking for that for about 2 hours today, and I cannot find it. And now I know it's somewhere, but if I don't find it soon enough, I may ask you for a dub of that.
I have my set here, and then I also have the Happy Flowers set on another cassette as well.
That's great. Okay, so now let's start talking about you as a music fan in general, because that's really interesting to me. With anybody I know, anybody I interview, no matter what band they're in or what kind of artist they are, I always ask them, what was the first music memory you ever had? What first grabbed you? What can you tell me about just your first memories of discovering music?
This isn't my memory, it's my dad's memory, but he was telling me he talks about this in the first documentary about me that came out years ago, where I was a baby. He was holding me in his arms, and he was watching The Dating Game, I think it was, on TV. So this would have been in 1971, probably. And some singer, I can't remember her name right now off the top of my head, because she wasn't really a famous person or anything. But my dad owned one of her records. You know, occasionally Dating Game would have somebody famous on.
Yeah.
As a contestant. So this singer was on. And so she sang a song that my dad owned the record of and that he used to play a lot. And my dad said that as she was singing the song, I pointed at the TV and then I pointed at their record player and I said, Eck, Eck. And he's telling me that I was saying that meant record, that I made the connection that was the record that he was playing, that I knew that somehow. I don't know. I absolutely have no memory of that.
Okay, right.
But my earliest memories of music were my dad he didn't like anything like, he didn't listen to rock at all. He listened to a lot of like doo-wop and stuff and like that. And he listened to early Beatles. So nothing from Revolver on, only stuff from before that. So I was exposed to like a lot of Beatles, and I still feel like that is where I get like a lot of writing, all like the really catchy hooks and stuff that I write even now. It's all from listening to that so much as a small child, because I watched the Beatles cartoon. I'm sure you remember that. It was on every day before I went to school, and then sometimes it was on after school too. So I'd watch that all the time. So I really had a lot of exposure to the Beatles. And then other than that, it was commercial jingles, TV show themes, and Joe Raposo, who wrote most of the songs on Sesame Street.
Oh.
So I that was very, very, like, there's a lot of really clever wordplay in Joe Raposo's compositions for Sesame Street. And that really is something that's really always inspired me.
Okay, so
the rest of my life.
So you're a child and you're kind of taking in all this music that's being kind of delivered to you directly or indirectly by your parents.
I wasn't really searching it out as much as it was all just coming to me.
Right. Yeah. Now, what was the first bit of music you heard that kind of changed everything, that kind of made you feel like, okay, now I've discovered my music. I've been absorbing all the stuff that's been being broadcast to me via mainstream TV or my parents or older people, but now I've found this thing this is mine, or it changed your thought about music, basically.
I think it was probably, there was a show on Saturday mornings on the local AM station, and it was, I didn't know anything about Dr. Demento or anything back then. I was like, I'm going to say I was like 11 years old probably. And so, but my dad said, oh, there's this comedy radio show on. So I'd listen to that. And that was where I first heard Weird Al played. I believe I heard My Bologna on there. And that was like, that wasn't long before Eat It came out, I think. So I heard that and I was like, oh, this is so funny. And then Eat It came out, and that was what got me, because before that I watched music videos on TV, but I never listened to the radio at all. And it was when Eat It came out that I said, oh, wow, this is cool. And this is on the radio. I can hear them play this on the radio, because Eat It was a really big song. It was, it was huge. So it was on the radio all the time. So then I started, that's what got me listening to the radio and got me into listening to all kinds of music. But that was it. When I heard Eat It, I said, oh, I could do this. I could write songs too like this, because it was like the first time that somebody showed me, oh, you could write a song about anything. It doesn't have to be about love or about the world peace or whatever. It could be about anything, really, and it's still a song. And I said, so maybe, I can do that.
So maybe you're saying that was the first time you heard kind of comedy mixed with music in a way where it made sense to you as something different apart from what you already knew.
Yeah, I mean, like the next time that happened is when I first heard punk rock. So I feel like, to me, Weird Al is like punk rock. I mean, it's like, it's sort of a revolutionary thing, and it's not like normal. And so...
Well, we actually had a question from somebody early on in the chat before the stream even started. My friend Peter Graves asks, and I'm sure everybody asked this, but the Weird Paul name, obviously it may have been inspired a little bit by Weird Al, but how did you decide to keep that as a brand? Because you are now a brand in your own right. And how did you decide to stick with that? And was there any kind of decision making you had to go through to maybe not use it or use it? What was that process like?
Well, it's now in retrospect, I always tell everybody, you have to really think up through if you're trying to think of the name that you're going to use for a career or whatever, it's not going to be your name. Then think it through really carefully, because ultimately you get stuck with whatever it is. Yeah. So when I started writing some songs, everybody in my school called me Weird Paul, because in high school, because I was like so into Weird Al. It was like all I talked about. So everybody called me Weird Paul. And so when I started recording songs, I would write on the cassette Weird Paul Petroskey, But when I got to the point where I was ready to release music, that was in 1987, I put out my first cassette. I said, I can't use that anymore because that's Weird Al's name. I got to have my own name. So I came up with Off the Wall Paul,
Wow.
which I think I saw in a Garbage Pail. There's a Garbage Pail Kids card that says Off the Wall Paul. I think that's where I got it from. Yeah.
Wow. That's great.
And so I used that for like, used that for like my first 2 albums. And by that time, it was getting played on the radio. Local college stations were all playing it, and I was starting to get shows booked and stuff like that. But the DJs were still calling me Weird Paul, even though it said Off the Wall Paul on the tape itself.
Oh,
and
man.
I looked at the flyer for the show in the window of wherever it was, and it said Weird Paul. So I was like, wait, it says on the tape Off the Wall Paul, but it was like too late because everybody had already been calling me Weird Paul for like, years. And so I was just like, finally I gave in. I was like, okay, all right, I'm Weird Paul. There's nothing I can do about it now.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I'm like, it's okay. I mean, there's more than one weird person in the world. So I'm okay to use it. But it was, it was not my intention that it was going to stick. And I talked to you on the phone. Let's see, it must have been in 1999, I guess. And my marriage had ended. And I remember saying to you, I'm going to start calling myself Paul Petroskey. And I put out a couple tapes where I just called myself Paul Petroskey around that time. I said, because I want to find a new girlfriend, and I don't think anyone's going to go out with Weird Paul. Do you remember what you said to me?
No.
You said, Paul, women are going to want to go out with you because you're Weird Paul.
and that's true, right?
And you were right.
Yeah, too bad I couldn't have been Weird Michael. I probably would have had a girlfriend now.
Yeah, well, there's that, I guess.
Well, see, here's the thing. When I was coming up with my little Devo fan brand, I knew that I wanted a site to showcase my Devo items. I didn't work for the band at the time, but I wanted to be the guy that everybody knew as the guy who collected the most Devo stuff, the most obsessed guy. So at first it was Devo Geek I came up with. And then I thought about that after a few months or a year, and I thought, you know what? Maybe I don't want to use Geek. And then I thought devo-obsesso has a nice ring to it. Let's just go with that. It does. Yeah, so I'm glad I changed it from Devo Geek.
I think you made the right choice. I got to tell you right now.
We both made the right choice, my friend.
Did the right thing.
But that's a great story. And that just goes to show if you're following your passions and whatever you think might not be right at the time, like the moniker Weird Paul that you were tagged with, if it's an organic thing and you're just following your passion, it's going to work out in your favor in the end, is what I think.
I wanted to show you this that you made for me back in August 1991. It's the Weird Paul Royalty of Rock insignia.
That's right. Okay, I got a story about that. I used to work for a company that did shirts for universities and all kinds of stuff, resorts. And so we would have stock art like that all the time laying around the office. And so I just modified it for you.
Doctored it up is what you did. Yeah.
That's the next.
Well, thank you. I want to say thank you for that. You really did the world a great service because that's been lying in an envelope for 30 years. And now I finally.
You should get a
got
full
it out
back.
Because I said, he's interviewing me. I better get this stuff out and see what I got here. I forgot all about this stuff.
You did. It's so cool. Well, if you're ever going to get a full back tattoo, I think it should be of that insignia there.
A back plate, yeah. That would
yeah. So now let's get into the first rock album. And I have an idea of who you're going to mention, the band. The first rock album, and maybe it was punk rock or whatever, that really made you think, I can do this, and I feel this as my calling. Like, what was the first album that really touched you like that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're not talking about Weird Al here, obviously.
No, we're talking about moving rock. Past that and just
the first thing I got like that would have been "Stay Hungry" by Twisted Sister.
Really?
Yeah.
That's
I
great.
got that in like February of 1985, and I was begging to get it, and my dad was like, I don't know if this is good. I don't know if this is something you should have. I was like, come on, Dad. So the next day I went out and got it, and that was like the first like hard rock album that I owned, and that's what got me like started down the path of listening to like heavier music. I got really into heavy metal for a long time. I would just like listen to that album all the time, and I thought up all these little scenarios to make my own videos for all the songs on it. So I filmed all those. We remade the "We're Not Gonna Take It" video, like shot for shot.
I remember.
Me and my family, and I heard that Dee Snider actually saw it. recently, which is pretty cool. But because back then I would have been like, wow, if only they could see this,
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
but
And now we can. Now we can.
yeah. So, but that was kind of a turning point, getting that album.
That's great. Yeah, so we both grew up in the same era. We both loved the heavy metal, and then we both probably discovered new wave and punk rock around the same time. And and you have a love for Devo, as I do.
Oh, of course.
And you've done it. And back then, you did a video of a Devo song way back then.
Oh yeah, I made so many. But that was just like probably not long after that. Actually, I would say it was probably later that month, or maybe the month after I got that Twisted Sister album. That was when I heard Whip It. The thing about that is, like I said, I didn't listen to the radio when I was younger at all until I found out about Weird Al. So when Whip It was having its huge heyday, I wasn't exposed to that at all. I didn't hear it because and by the time I started listening to the radio, so now we're up to like 1984, Whip It was not being played on the radio anymore.
No.
That was over. So I didn't hear Whip It until it was nominated, until the We're All Devo VHS tape was nominated for a Grammy that year.
Wow.
I had the Grammys on, and they said Devo, We're All Devo, and they played part of the Whip It video. So I had never seen that or heard that before. I'd never seen or heard Devo before. So when I saw that on the TV, I was like, wow. And it was only like 15 seconds of it or something.
Yeah.
I was like, I got to have this. I got to have this. And I didn't go out buying records all the time because I didn't really have any money. But I went to the record store like the next day and found the 45 of Whip It and brought it home and kept listening to it. So late that night, I went to bed. And I woke up next morning. My mom said, you were talking in your sleep last night. And I said, what was I saying? And she was saying, you were saying, you must whip it. And it was the chorus to Whip It. I'd been singing it in my sleep.
That's awesome.
You heard me sing it.
That's awesome. Well, the reason I'm wearing this shirt, this has significance. This is a devotional fan convention that happens in Ohio for the last 21 years, most of those 21 years. This is the 2009 event where you actually performed with the Weird Paul.
That was the last time. I mean, I saw you once after that, which would have been at the Devo show here in Pittsburgh that I was at, August 29th. No, that was June 7th, 2011. And I only saw you there because I saw you on stage taking the picture of the audience.
Oh, so we didn't actually meet.
You weren't there?
I mean, I was there, but we didn't actually. You saw me from afar. We didn't say hello.
Oh, I saw you from afar. That's exactly what I was going to say. The last time that we actually talked face to face was at the devotional, and that was on August 29th, 2009 in Cleveland at the Beachland Ballroom, and we were both peeing into urinals. While we were talking.
You have such a fantastic memory. Thank God for your brain, because I can't remember any of that stuff.
Thank you.
It's amazing. So here you are. You're discovering all this great music. You eventually get a guitar, right? You start churning out stuff that sounds like the Ramones. You start getting shows together. You get a little following. Now, how did you get this record deal with Homestead Records? How did that come together?
The guy that was playing drums with me at the time, named Manny Thiner, he and I, we put out a 7-inch because that was the thing to do in 1990. Was if you were an indie band, you had to put out a 7-inch. So we put some money together, he and I, and we put out this Sucking Chest Wound 7-inch right there, and that's what started to get us noticed, because that got out. It started being distributed, and it was reviewed in like College Music Journal and stuff like that, like the big papers. So the guy that was in charge of signing the bands for Homestead at that time, he got a hold of it, and then he wrote to me and ordered all my tapes. He got all my tapes and that Who's That Idiot video and all that stuff. And he was just obsessed with it, from what I heard. He was just like listening to it all the time. And so next thing I knew, he sent me a letter and he said, I'm thinking about signing you. What do you think of that? And, and I found out years and years later now, this is like in the last 8 years or something, there was an interview about Homestead Records, or there was an article about Homestead Records in Magnet Magazine. And it was all about like the last years of Homestead, like from when I got signed on, basically the 90s era. And it really exposed like all this stuff that I didn't know was going on. So right after that guy, Ken Kacken, signed me, he was let go from Homestead Records. And what he said in the article was that Homestead, it was just like not being run well. The guy who owned it like didn't really care what was going on. And so he decided, Ken, the guy who signed me, he decided that he was going to sign whoever he wanted. He was just going to sign whatever bands that he liked, regardless of whether they were going to sell records or not. And so he liked my music. What can I say? He signed me, and I lucked out, basically.
Yeah.
To this day, I feel extremely grateful to the guy because it was all because of him just deciding he was going to do whatever he wanted that I got signed. And that changed a lot of things for me, getting signed.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. We keep going back to this thing where people, you, me, the guy who signed you, we're all acting on impulse and passion rather than what's going to make us the most money or what's the smartest thing I can do with my life. You just follow this calling, whether you want to attribute it to the rock and roll gods or whatever, you just follow this passion. And it ends up, when you look back decades, you're like, oh, that's the reason I did that. It's like, it doesn't make sense.
That kind of stuff. Yeah. That keeps coming up again and again. I'm like, oh, now it makes sense.
Yeah. It's weird. Right. And so now let me ask you, are your parents both still alive?
Yeah.
Okay. So how do you compare how your parents view your whole Weird Paul persona now as opposed to how they did back then when you were being very irritating with a VHS camera? How do they express this to you?
I mean, they've always been extremely supportive, because I would say, I need you to do this in my video. I need you to say this, do this. And they, it was almost 100% of the time that they would say, okay. And they do it. Whatever I asked them to do. So, and now I just thought that was normal, but now, everybody says to me, my parents would never have done that.
Yeah.
There's no way my parents would never have done that. They would have hit me or something, and I was like, well, it's just like, that's crazy. That my parents are just amazing, and that I had all the support from them, and love from them. And they really just, it was just kind of a thing like, let him do what he wants, and he's his own person, and he's as long as he's okay, it's fine, And they never like badgered me into saying, you got to go to. I said I went to tech school, recording school, but they didn't say, oh, you got to go to college or something.
Yeah.
Last thing I wanted to do was go to school again. I hated school. So
yeah,
like,
well,
that's not for me. It's not for everyone,
It isn't.
I have stuff to do here in my life, and that's not part of it. So
now you're in your 50s like I am, right? And how do are they surprised that you still wear this moniker and have this brand and are this exact same person basically as you were back then?
I don't think so. They don't seem like they are. They just treat me exactly the same as they always have, And I think they're excited that I'm finally starting to like, I wouldn't say I'm successful, but I'm starting to get to the point where maybe, I could say I'm successful very soon. So I've made a lot of progress.
I think you're certainly a success. That goes without saying. But if you're talking just in monetary terms or being able to live solely off your art, you basically do live solely off your art right now.
I still have a day job, but it's I've gotten to the point where, it's just that kind of thing where they say, "Oh, be careful now! Don't quit your day job," because I don't feel comfortable yet. I have no guarantee that after this month, maybe next month, I'm not going to be able to afford to be on my own. So I'm not ready to take that last step yet. Getting close.
That's the beauty of it. But basically, you're able to spend most of your time doing what you love. And every now and then you have to walk over here and do something for money. But then you come back you're not the kind of person that I think a lot of Americans are people who go to work and then they go home and wait to go to work again, basically. They don't do anything with their time.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Most people have to become like slaves to their job because you have to make the money that you make in order to do, to live, to eat, to have a roof over your head and whatever. You can't, It's not like you could say, oh, I'm just going to quit doing this and do something else.
Right.
And I worked, I've worked full time when I was younger, and I had a family, and it's, you get home, you're exhausted. You can't really do anything other than just sit down and maybe watch a little TV before you to go to bed and do it all over again. It's
right.
Just how it is.
It's all about making decisions early in life, I believe.
Yeah, it is. I didn't do that, but
but you did. I think you made the right decisions. You followed these passions, my friend, and
I didn't stop. No, there were times when it was very, very difficult, and there's a lot of times when I said I'm just going to give up, but I never fully gave up, and I just kept.
You're not allowed to. I'm sorry. Right. You're not allowed to give up. All right, so let's get into live concerts, which a lot of people are missing these days, but they're coming back. And tell me a little bit about your live concert experience. What was the first live band you ever saw perform?
The first live concert I went to was Weird Al Yankovic, and that was in 1985. So that was the Dare to Be Stupid tour, and that was like, I had another thing where I just begged my dad. I said, please, I've got to go. I've got to go to this show. So my dad took me, and it was very influential on me in a lot of ways. I said, when I turn the video camera on, I'm going to try to emulate this, I'm going to try to emulate this. I started having my own concerts from I think January 86, I started doing that. I'd have my own concerts in my parents' living room. And then I would film the whole thing.
After you saw Weird Al, that kind of inspired you to do your own.
I got a lot of that. And then I kept doing that. I kept having concerts in my parents' living room for a couple of years. And I would tell everybody at school, I'm having this concert, and I would hand out little flyers to kids. And nobody ever came until one day, a couple kids came, and then the next one, a few more kids came. Wow. And then there were like 40 people in my parents' living room. So then we had to move it to some kid's garage. But, the ball kept rolling, for a while.
That's
people were
amazing.
Like, nobody ever paid attention to me in school. They all just said, there's that weird kid over there eating lunch by himself,
Yeah,
but then like in my senior year of high school, finally people were like, hey, that's Weird Paul. Why don't you tell him to sit at our table?
That's cool.
Things finally... Cool. Just in time for high school to end.
Just in time to get popular. Boom, you're out of there.
Right, exactly.
Well, I think we were both blessed with having parents that, and I think this is true of yours. They weren't really music fans per se. They knew music, they listened to music, but they weren't fans, and they certainly didn't understand what we were into for the most part. But they were supportive. Like my mom would let me listen to anything. My mom thought she was Catholic. But she let me listen to anything. Kiss, Ozzy, whatever. She thought it was just music and harmless, and always give me money. She would always give me money to get a tour shirt when I go to concerts, and she was very supportive, but didn't understand anything about what I was listening to. Didn't try to. Was that kind of how your parents were?
I guess to an extent. I mean, it's just that I was always involving my parents. I'd say, "Hey, Mom, we're going to make this video for Relax by Frankie Goes to Hollywood. I need you to film it." And then she's filming the whole thing. I said to my dad, "Hey, Dad, I'm making this AC/DC video, and I need you to play it. I need you to sit here and pretend you're a newscaster." So I mean, they were involved. I got them involved. So,
and they didn't question it. They didn't say, "Well, this one, I don't know if I like this band. I'm not going to do this." They would say, "Yes, Paul, we'll do it."
I never heard them. I can't remember right now a time when they said, "No, we're not going to do that."
Well, it must not have ever happened, because I know you remember everything. So.
I don't. I mean, most people think I remember everything. That's because, I wrote down so much stuff throughout my life. I kept journals and everything. Yeah. And I just, like I always say, I remember more than you do. But that doesn't mean my memory is that great.
My memory is really bad.
The more you can just read, like it's all reference material for me now. I just go back. Let's see what was I doing on August 7th, 1985. I just go look it up,
Now, how many of these journals that you kept are actually digitally saved at this point and transcribed?
Zero.
Just paper.
It's all paper.
Okay. Have you scanned any of that in digitally?
No.
How many pages?
I don't even have a scanner.
How many pages do you think there are of your journals that?
Oh my God.
I mean, is a stack like this or booklets?
It's a whole bookshelf.
A whole bookshelf.
Yeah.
It might be an interesting project, maybe even a GoFundMe, just to get all that stuff digitized, just to get somebody to scan it all. Because, dude, if something horrible happened, your house collapsed, a fire happened, something, that's gold. That stuff.
That's true.
That's like the Weird Paul Bible there. You need to make some kind of effort to scan all that stuff in and store it on a hard drive or in a cloud or something.
Yeah.
Somebody will do that for you, I'm sure.
Yeah.
It's because it's, you know how important that stuff is.
No, it is. Who could I trust with it, though? That's the question. I mean, there's stuff written in there I don't want anyone to see. So.
Oh, I see. Well, you can have somebody do it and then promise not to look at it while they're doing it.
Okay, don't look now.
Just press scan, save the file, go to the next
page 3, 2 inches in. Don't read that. Okay.
That's great. All right, so now let's talk about, I know I told you I'd have you here an hour, and what are we? We got 20 minutes. Okay, so let's talk about, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you're a busy rock star, and you have
That's
things
fine.
going on.
That's fine. We got, this is important work we're doing here.
Well, I want to touch on a little bit about what concerts are you looking forward to seeing? Do you have any plans to go see concerts coming up in the near future? Are there anything that maybe you can't afford to go see, but you're just dying to see that you know is touring?
I haven't seen like a lot of so far. I mean, I live in a city where a lot of bands just don't come to play. Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. It's not and plus most of our venues have closed. A lot of them closed right before the pandemic, and many more closed during the pandemic. We don't have very many places left for bands to play.
I see.
So there's not a lot. I'm looking, and see who's coming up, but I haven't really seen much. Berlin is playing a free show at a park here next month, and that's on my bucket list to see them. So I'm really excited about that. And other than that, I'm still kind of. I mean, this is very hopeful. I'm hoping that maybe the Fantastic Plastics are going to play Devotional this year.
Oh yeah, I think you're probably pretty good chance that's going to happen. Now let me ask you this. If you could just email me about your plans to see Berlin, I know somebody that plays in Berlin, and I would like to try to get him to let you meet the band. So if you could email me and just let me know your plans and where the show is, I'll get in touch with him and I'll try to work that out for you, because I think
that would be crazy.
Great. Yeah, Terry Nunn's super cool, super awesome, nice, and
well, I wrote some things about her in my journal that you can't look at. So
okay, well, you can just tell her in her ear. You can just whisper. Maybe you just want to take cell phone photos of those pages and show them to her when you meet her. I'm sure she's seen it before.
This isn't creepy at all. Okay.
Yeah, she's heard it all before, I'm sure. Okay, so let's talk about this. When is the next time that physically released media by Weird Paul will be released? Record, tape, CD? Any plans?
I don't know. I mean, I put out an album in 2019. And then
that was the strong one?
No, that was the Lit AF one.
Oh, the Lit. That's right. Lit is fun.
And then I got started streaming on Twitch last year after the pandemic started, and that's been like my focus on, like, my time is totally focused on that, because that's the thing that I'm getting a lot of joy out of it, and it's really fulfilling my creative needs, because it really suits what I do very well. But it also is, I mean, it's a way that I can afford to take care of myself.
That's great.
It helps me to do that. So
I need to pick your brain about that at some point when we're not publicly speaking, because the Fantastic Plastics got me to start a Twitch page, but I have no idea how to use it, how to stream on it. I'm totally dumb. So I just need to pick your brain a little bit about that, so I can get started using that platform, because I never have.
Sure, no problem.
Yeah.
But so I haven't, my plan was earlier this year I was going to start working on a new album, and then my fiance got really sick. She was sick for a few months, and so I streamed on Twitch and took care of her and worked at my job, and that's basically all I did for quite a while. I didn't have time to do anything else, so those plans kind of fell by the wayside. I'm still trying to catch up on everything I have going on in my life, even now, months later. So, but I do want to work on new music. I haven't really written a new song in a while now. So,
you didn't ask, but I must tell you, the Weird Paul song that runs through my head
Which one is it, Michael?
It's just a beautiful pop song. You Can Own Your Own Home. I really, really love that song.
Thank you.
I tell you, all these years, I can't tell you how many times a year it'll just pop in my head, and I'll have to bounce around singing it in my head for a while. It's just a beautiful song. Now, how did you come up with that? What was the impetus for that song?
Well, that was at a time when I had been going through a period where I was having trouble writing. It was one of the times in my life when I just had kind of had a writer's block, and I just didn't have any like new inspiration to get me motivated to write anything that was worthwhile. And then I heard Daniel Johnston for the first time, and that was really, it just opened up a lot more possibilities to me. Not only with my music, but just it made me understand myself, like how my own feelings better. And so I started playing the chord organ because we had one in our house that I'd been playing since I was a little boy, but I didn't, I never really thought about using it for music very much. I used it once, like when I was a teenager on a song, but I never really played it too much. So then I sat down and I really learned how to play it and everything, because that was the instrument that Daniel used on a lot of his most popular songs. And that's when I started writing that song. And that was something I was listening to Daniel Johnston every day, just day in, day out for like a couple months or something. And my little brother came up to me and he said, my favorite Daniel Johnston song is You Can Own Your Own Home Without Even Breaking My Heart.
Oh,
and I said, well, that's not a Daniel Johnston song. I said, but that is a song. So I sat down and I wrote, and then I just wrote the song.
Oh, wow. That's great. Yeah. That's really a fantastic story. I like that song even more now. That's fantastic. So, all right. So let's talk about thrift shopping real quick here, because we both do it a lot. And now the reason I do it these days mostly is to resell stuff, to flip stuff. And the way I like to think about it is I'm rescuing these items that are certainly going to be doomed if nobody buys them at the thrift store. And somebody's going to want to collect them. Like, for instance, I bought 2 Donny Osmond records for $0.25 each. They're German imports. Nobody buys Donny Osmond, but I thought, oh my God, they're in such great shape. I got to save them from this pile, right? Somebody bought them from me for a few dollars, right? But it's not always about making the money. It's about saving these items. But you, my friend, are not really a reseller flipper, right? You're a collector.
Yeah, I mean, only times when I was like, there were months where I was like, oh man, I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't pay my bills, and I would have to sell something. But but mostly I have most of the stuff that I buy. I just save it away. But I mean, it's the same thing you just said. I mean, I see something and I say, this can't be destroyed. This is important. Yeah. This is part of history. Yeah. Especially if it's something I know this is like not something I'm going to see ever again, or most people will never see in their lifetime. Yeah. And then I'm like, I have to get this and preserve it. It's important. And it's because not everything is on the internet, right? I mean, totally. I find the stuff I look for all the time on the internet just doesn't exist on here. So
yeah. Well, I remember back in my college days, high school days, when I would go thrift shopping, it was all about getting stuff for, decor, records to collect for myself. It was all about getting
this letter, like the first letter I ever got from you here. You were talking about how you love to go to garage sales and thrift stores. So.
Yeah, we've been doing the same shit
30 years ago.
I can't believe. I'm so happy that you have all that stuff. I'm so happy I'm not the only one that kept all this shit. And it really it warms my heart that you still have that record box.
I have basically every letter everyone has ever written to me.
That's so cool, man. That's so cool. So amazing to me. So how often do you thrift shop these days?
Not too often, just because I mean, in the last couple of years, it's my free time has started to just totally implode. It's like so minuscule now. Especially this year has just been so rough for me as far as having time to do anything. So now it's down. I'm lucky if I get to go twice. Out to
twice a month or twice a month or something like that.
Yeah. So
yeah, that's good though. That's good. You're still getting out there. You still have eyes on stuff, and you're kind of doing.
It's like after you do it enough, you're like, okay, that store you got to be there at 2:00 on a Thursday. You know when to go. So
yeah. Now now here's something you might treat this as advice, but if you ever wanted to get into the business of flipping these things on eBay and making money that way, that's one of my biggest sources of income is, working for rock bands and eBay. And it's all about building that store so it's big enough and enough items. I have like 800 items on eBay every month.
Wow.
So I make about, I don't know, $1,000 a month profit from eBay. So
it seems time consuming.
But it's not. Once you get into that rhythm of, okay, I've got stuff, I'm going to list a few things today. I'll pack up a few mail orders tomorrow morning. I mean, it's work, but it's also, it gets me out to these places to discover these little gems. I found a Celine Dion single once, right? And oftentimes when I'm at the store, I'll see something, go, oh, I haven't seen this one before. I'll look it up. I sold that single for $100 to somebody in Canada that was a huge Celine Dion collector. They needed that one single. So there are things you can do, Paul, to marry your passions with actually paying bills, right? And you've discovered this, of course, with Twitch and everything else. But I think your thrifting can become a job. And then if you report your income as a freelancer or whatever, you can write off the gas it takes to get to the thrift store, the lunch you have while you're out thrifting, all the expenses at the thrift store. That's all business expenses at that point. I know. That's so
crazy.
I know. Well, if you ever want to get started, I'll hold your hand and get you started and give you some advice.
Yeah, if I ever can get a new album done first.
Yeah, do it. Just crank one out. Have a few. I don't even know if you drink alcohol, but have a few drinks. Crank out a record.
National Wine Cooler Day is this Thursday. So
what? You still drink wine coolers?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing. That's really amazing.
Oh, they're good.
Well, I gotta say, it's really been such a pleasure to be able to see you face to face.
Absolutely.
And talk about this stuff. And I do. Hopefully, maybe you'll be able to come to the devotional or perform the devotional this year. It's in November 5th and 6th. I believe the Fantastic Plastics may already be confirmed. I'm going to confirm that in the next couple of days.
Let's confirm them right now. They're in the chat. Let's see here. I'll ask them.
No, basically, I'm pretty sure
they're wearing a shirt right now. Right.
Oh, look at that. Yeah. Branding. It's all about branding.
It is.
So let's keep in touch. And if you're going to go to the devotional, if you can make the trek out there, whether you're performing or not, just let me know. You don't have to buy a ticket. You can get in and all that stuff, of course.
Wow. But just perks, everybody.
I just want you to be
perks, everybody. Wow.
Are you talking about my perky nipples? Jeez, I had to take it there right at the end of the damn interview. Hey, that was coming from your pants, wasn't it?
Yep. It was my boobs poop.
That's great.
There's all the Bazooka Joe comics you sent me back in 1991, by the way.
Look at that. We still have all the crap we sent each other.
Yeah, that's great.
We are two peas in a pod, my friend. And look, there may be some questions I missed for you in the chat because it's been hard to pay attention to it. But
let's see what they are here.
Well, what I'm going to do is after this gets up on my site and the chat populates so I could read it, I'll go through and I'll type out any questions that I need to get you to answer. And then maybe next week on my live stream, I can just tell people what your answers are.
Yeah.
I'll email you or send you a message on Facebook or something.
Yeah. So anyway, and please let everybody know that they can watch my videos on YouTube here.
Oh yeah, now I've put a link in the video to weirdpaul.com that has links to all of his social media.
Except Twitch, because hasn't been updated in a long time.
Oh really? Okay. Well, do you need somebody to update it for you?
Well, usually my fiance does that, but
okay. Well, yeah. So, but Weird Paul, easy to find. Twitch on all social media. Just search Weird Paul. He'll come right up. Yeah. And let's have a talk about Twitch sometime soon amongst ourselves.
Sure.
I'd like to get started there, and let's keep in touch. And
absolutely,
maybe we should trade some music in the mail or something. Or I'm going to send you more of those sanitary napkin bags with things in them. I swear. And you'll keep
well, 30 years from now, we'll have to show them again on here. So.
Man, I love you, Paul. I'm so glad you came here and talked to us.
Fist.
Yeah, do it. And let's keep following those passions. I know you don't need to be told that anymore, but don't lose hope. Don't give up. Please keep entertaining us for Christ's sake, because what else?
I still need to hear it.
What else is there in life?
Thank you.
Weird Paul. No, we love you, man. And thank you so much again for being here. I'll reach out to you in the next few days if I notice some questions that didn't get answered from the chat. And
cool.
And yeah, everybody just go follow Weird Paul on all social media that you can. He's a very entertaining fellow, and he's constantly prolific, like in mad ways. So beauty, man. Beauty.
Mad. I'm mad.
All right, my friend. I thank you for your time very much. I appreciate it. Tell Niffer we said hello. That's coming from his pants, everybody. Coming from his pants. All right, Paul. I'll let you free. See you later, my friend.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
All right. Awesome. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here for that. I was looking forward to that for so long. I've had all of my autographed Weird Paul stuff for 30 years in boxes and things in my attic, and stuffed in the record sleeves that I've owned by him, and this beautifully autographed 7-inch I've had in my chest. And this song here, Sucking Chest Wound, also excellent pop song by Weird Paul. But yeah, thank you for being here. Again, if there's any questions in the chat for Paul that I did not get to, I'll get to those next week on my live stream. I stream every Thursday at 7 p.m. And thank you again, everybody. I'll see you soon. I'm going to be planning a record store live stream real soon, hopefully in the next week, where I go shopping for records live on cam and see what I could finagle over there. May the rock and roll gods bless you, all of you, as they have blessed me. I will see you next time. And thanks again for being here on a Saturday with me. Take care, everybody. I'm going to leave you with some noise. All right, everybody. Thank you again. We really appreciate it. Have a happy weekend.